How's it going, guys? Welcome to the live stream. I just turned this thing on, so we'll wait for some people to get in here and we'll get started shortly. Oh, where's my thing? I'll be right back, guys. Just going to wait for some people to get in here and wait for the questions to start pouring in. Just waiting for some people to get in here and start some questions, and I'll be back shortly. All right. Welcome to the live stream. Waiting for some people to come on in here and hoping to answer some questions. I'm getting my office and / YouTube studio more set up. Got some nice engine license plates, nice sign in the back, and obviously name of the channel. So wait for some people to get in here and start asking some questions that I can answer. A little late on this one, but I think better late than never. So hopefully I can help you guys out and answer some questions you might have. Oh. Hope you guys like the new, or how the studio setup is coming along with the license plates here. Just, trying to make it look like more of a trucking decor. If you get on here, it's kind of a trucking channel, and you're not going to be, I'm not going to be talking about shoes or something like that. Hey, Rhett, Bussy, sorry if I butchered your name. How many miles is a good number on buying used trucks for OTR, and what is reasonable price to spend on a used truck? So I would try to stick under 500,000 miles and around that $50,000 mark. I think that's kind of a happy medium. Obviously, you'll spend more money to go less miles, and then you'll spend less money to go higher in the miles. But I usually try to stick below the 500 mile mark, or I'm sorry, 500,000 miles. Try to stay below that. That's the best advice I have. If you find a truck that's got 600,000 or 700,000 miles on it, and it's not too awfully old, and it's got a good track record, then you can go ahead and pull the trigger on that. But I would say under 500,000. And sometimes you can find trucks for 40 to 45,000. Well, I mean, if you're looking for an over the road truck, I'm talking about trucks I look for, which are more heavy spec, big horsepower. But you can find over the road trucks with probably 400,000 miles for probably around 40 grand, maybe 45 ish. I've seen a lot of those. I've personally bought a couple trucks for $30,000 that had 450,000 miles. Don't know how common that is nowadays, but at least it was back then. And my recent purchase, but it's a super heavy spec truck, would not be good for over the road. The thing tops out at, my top speed's like 70 to 75 miles an hour, and my RPMs are just wrapped out. So it wouldn't be a good over the road truck, especially if you're wanting to do 80 miles an hour, which I still do, but my RPMs are so high, I'm probably drinking so much more fuel than it's worth. All right, looks like we got a few more people in here. Got some flavored water here. Not a big flavored water fan, to be honest, but it's all I had laying around. What's the difference between DOT and LLC? An LLC is a limited liability corporation that you set up when you have a business, and a DOT is Department of Transportation. And also you can have a DOT number, which is your identification number for your DOT. So it's, for the highway or transit authorities to know who you are. That's your DOT number, or the authorities, or whoever it may be. So you'll have your DOT number on the side of your trucks, and every trucking company has their specific DOT number. It's kind of just an identification. But yeah, two completely different things. LLCs is like a company. It's a type of company, like an incorporation or an S corporation. And then a DOT is the governing body for the Department of Transportation. That's what DOT stands for. Tell me, guys, if you like the new setup. Trying to make it more trucking oriented, so you know what we're all about on this channel. And when you tune in, you can understand right away what it is. So let me know how this background looks. I've done a couple videos. I haven't done too many videos. Thanks. Thumbs up. Awesome. Who has the best insurance for new authority? The easiest insurance to get is going to be Progressive. And that's my experience. For new authorities, it's going to be a little more expensive, but it's also going to be the easiest. And therefore, Progressive is a huge company, so they're not going to try to, I don't want to say they're not going to try to, but bigger insurance companies are probably a lot better as far as not trying to wiggle out of insurance claims. Or if you have some no-name insurance company, I always worry about, what if the worst happens and then this insurance company may not be as legit as they claim to be. So I'd say Progressive. And it also depends on how much experience you have. A lot of times it's all about how new your authority is, but a lot of times the person trying to get approved, a lot of it's they're gonna factor a lot of your driving experience into that equation as well. Try People Insurance for new authority insurance. Jeremy Jones. Thanks, Jeremy. Try those guys out. You never know. I'm coming out of Florida, but might change the address to Georgia. Okay. I don't think that should make a difference, to be honest with you. Especially being those states are Georgia, Florida, those are so close together. It's like me being in Colorado or Wyoming. It's so close. I don't think it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. And maybe closer down to Denver, it'd make a difference versus being in Wyoming. But as far as your authority is concerned, I don't think that should change much because it's still down south, just like this is still the Midwest. People insurance quoted me $12K for the year, $2,700 for down payment, $944 monthly. That's not horrible. I think I was right around there with Progressive. Honestly, Jeremy, I think Progressive was pretty close to that. Also, Jeremy, did you have a lot of driving experience, like 5-10 years before you got that authority? Because that could be a big factor too, or at least that's what I was fighting. Because I had 5 years of driving experience, which they don't claim is very much. Rhett, I'm looking to be signing up with Prime Inc. to get some skin in the game and have paid training. It's a year commitment, but training they start you out at $700 to $800. Rhett, so you're talking about you don't have your CDL, but they're going to get you your CDL, and that's where you have to commit to the 1 year? Awesome. Hey, man, that's great. It's not the greatest pay, I'll be honest with you, but you need to get your feet wet and get started somewhere. And once you get started there, maybe you can figure out ways to make more and more money. But yeah, that's not bad. I mean, and like I said before, a lot of guys have been asking me, how do I get my CDL? I want to come to the States, or I want to do this, I want to do that. And that's a perfect example. Get it with a company that's going to get you your CDL, get you all your training, and they're going to sign you into a 1 to 2 year contract. And you can break that contract at any time. A lot of people don't realize that it's just money out of your pocket. I worked for a beverage distribution company, and they made me sign a year contract, and they got me my CDL. Well, the oil field's right next door, so they're paying $80,000 a year, and I was making probably $35,000 at the most at the beer company, distribution company. So I said, screw this, I'll pay your $2,000, $1,500 you're gonna come after me for. And they did. They sent it to collections, and it didn't go on my credit because I paid it, but I paid $1,500, and so don't be scared of that either. Like, don't be scared that you're like, don't make yourself feel trapped, for sure. All right. Jeremy Jones, 3 years of experience. That's a good deal, man. That's actually a really good deal. If you have 3 years of experience and quote you that's pretty good, man. That's a good one then. Cassius, no, mine is 2 years, but dad has 22 years. Let's see here. Oh, okay. Cool. Well, if you have 2 years, I mean, you might try that insurance company that Jeremy said, but if not, try Progressive. They're not the cheapest, I'll admit that, but they are the easiest to get going with. Like, it's very little trouble to get you approved and get going. And I think they made me put roughly about the same amount of money down that you quoted. Jeremy, what'd you say? $2,700 down. Yeah, so you roughly had to do 10%, a little bit over that. That's roughly what I had to do. And they went off your credit score. And I had a decent credit score back then. Jeremy, quick question. Is the Midwest good place for flatbed or reefer? No. A lot of guys tell me a lot of stuff comes here, but there's not a lot of stuff gets you out. And that's the problem with the Midwest. Except for like going over towards Missouri, And over that towards that area, it's okay. There's a lot of loads that go over in that area, but a lot of people, like a couple buddies of mine that I know that do this, do flatbed, tell me like they always try to meet up here in my side of the country, and they never really can because they're not really ever come here very often, and it's hard for them to get back out. So loads come here for good rates, but then I guess it's garbage coming out. A lot of them say that eastern seaboard is, that southeastern side, Georgia, Florida. A lot of them come out of Florida, honestly. And that's the best for them, I think. Like North, South Carolina, Tennessee, all of those areas have a lot of industry that's going in and out of them. And then a lot of them have stuff going into Texas and then Texas back. And that's a lot of their routes that they do. But yeah, I'd say the Midwest is not very good for that. Or at least, where I'm at. Rhett, the people I've talked to that actually work there and got their training done said they make average 1,600 by leasing a truck. Leasing, you get 75% of the load. That's not the greatest amount of money. If you're leasing on $1,600 a week is actually pretty low. This is my advice. I would get in there and get your CDL and get at least 3 to 6 months of experience if you can handle it and if it doesn't drive you crazy. If it doesn't drive you crazy, stretch out for that year mark and then start looking for other companies, because making $700 to $800 a week is really low. Even though you're a new driver, there's a lot of demand for drivers out there, even new drivers. If you don't have any mess ups or don't have any issues, have a clean record, all that good stuff. And I've talked about this before, but yeah, you should be able to make closer after you get 3 to 6 months experience. You should be able to make closer to $1,400 a week, $1,200 to $1,400 a week on the low side. So leasing onto them for $1,600 a week, I don't see. That's not. I mean, I understand that might be a lot for some people, but in this industry, that's not very good. A lot of guys here will pretty much tell you about the same thing, I'm sure. Man, that is crazy. That's actually pretty low. Like if you have a good company driver job, you can make $1,600 a week gross, if not more. And you don't have no responsibilities of the truck. I also I have a video on predatory leases. I want to look at that video because that sounds kind of like it's going up that alley. I'm not saying it is, but that's kind of what it sounds like to me. I'm gonna. Man, that's not erasing. All right. Had to erase this starting soon because we're already going. How are you guys doing out there, by the way? Drop a comment or throw a like to tell me that you're doing all right. Thank you for the thumbs up. Doing good, man. Sounds good. Yeah, hopefully you heard what I was just saying about your comment. I would just get your feet wet there and look for something shortly after you get your license and get some good experience underneath your belt. So that's pretty low for the pay, even with them getting your CEO for you. Steven Lugo, have you brought anyone on to help you scale your business? No, I have not. I had another trucking business that I thought I was going to scale and make it huge, and that didn't wind up going too well. It ended up costing me more money than it was worth, and ended up losing me a couple $100,000. So maybe I'll make a video on that. Right now, I'm kind of a one-man show. I might bring on a driver or two every now and again, but I've learned that keeping it lean and mean is the name of the game in the trucking industry. Unless you have 10 or 20 trucks and good contracts, anywhere between there, you're just going to be spending money that you're making. What are your goals in the next 5 years? Well, that's a good question. My goals would be to, let's see here. Man, you hit me with a good question. Right now things are up and down. It's hard to have a extended out future plan for 5 years just because things are going this way and they're going that way, and it's kind of hard to have a direct path because things are changing. Next 5 years, I'd like to obviously build the YouTube side of things to a sustainable point where I can do that part-time, if not full-time, and continue helping you guys out there getting yourselves into the trucking industry and succeeding either as high-level company drivers or owner-operators. So my goal for the next 5 years is to, have solid footing on the YouTube side of things, and also have a trucking business with, I'd say, 2 or 3 trucks. I've already got 2 or 3 trucks. I just want to get, 2 or 3 trucks running solidly, me maybe included doing it part-time, and have a solid work, whether that be continuing doing tanker stuff, which who knows, the times are changing every year that we get. It seems like the pipeline's taking more of our work, or get into maybe the construction side of things. That'd be my goal in the next 5 years, is to keep what I have sustained currently and keep driving and doing what I'm doing, and then build up the YouTube side of things. I've got some other businesses as well. I've got an app company as well that's working on some other stuff. This is nothing to do with trucking. It's actually an app around breweries. I'd like to build the YouTube side of things and venture into some automotive stuff because that's truly my passion. And maybe have a 2 or 3 truck business that's pretty, really lean and mean. That's what I learned from my last bigger trucking company experience was, if you have just 2 or 3 trucks running and they're running solidly, that's a good place to be. Oh, and also expand into doing a lot more of the trucking repair stuff. So getting a property that has a big shop on it where I can do a lot more of the how-to videos around trucks and building trucks, fixing them. That would be another thing. So Rhett, that's a good question. I know it's a little long-winded. Jeremy Jones, doing okay. My authority was dismissed because my 90 days are up for getting my insurance. I think you can appeal that. What's your issue with getting insurance? I guess that would be my next question. If it's money, I guess you just got to save more money, but you should be able to get Progressive or Let's see here. Wait, I thought you said you had your authority, Jeremy. You said your authority was dismissed because your 90 days are up for getting your insurance. Were you able to appeal it? Because I thought you said you just got approved for insurance for $2,700 down and $944 monthly. So I guess I'd ask you, what do you mean? Did you get reinstated? And I think you just got to appeal it or file for it again. Sal Acevas, I'm getting paid cash for right now. Should I be reporting income ASAP if I'm planning to get my own truck in about 2 years from now for insurance purposes, or does insurance companies take references? Yeah, you might want to start reporting it. Yeah, as you're gonna need to prove your income, unless you're planning on buying a truck outright. If you can save 20 grand, 25 grand cash, that might get you a $50,000 truck going 50-50, or just buying a $20,000 to $25,000 truck cash. But yeah, you might want to start. Well, it's kind of, I can't legally tell you this, but report enough that you need to report enough that you qualify for, but consult an accountant or a finance company, consult a bank about saying, hey, I want to buy a truck. What kind of income do I need to show or provide you? That's what I would ask, is some of the Daimler Financial, Amir Equipment Finance, PNC Bank. Those are just a few out there. So I would ask them what kind of income they'd like to see to finance your truck. And I understand you're working as a truck driver right now, so that'll be good. Let's see here. And what do you mean for insurance purposes? Are you currently a truck driver, Sal? Yeah, I mean, insurance companies, I don't know if they take references or not. I can't remember. Rhett, I'm not sure what to do when I go to Prime for training. I can either choose reefer or flatbed. Not really sure what to choose. Any advice? Flatbed. Choose flatbed. At least for the future, flatbed seems to be the highest paying over-the-road job right now. And learning that is a good specialty side of trucking. A lot of the things about trucking is being in specialized areas of it. Okay, Cobe 13. What do you think about buying a truck on lease and then renting it to the truck drivers? That's difficult because you're already taking liability of truck drivers, which is enough liability to have truck drivers, and now you're expecting them. Now you have to chase them down for money. It sounds like a pain, honestly. I can't say it's not worth it because I'm looking at doing that with a good friend of mine or people that I know. But I'm not going to lease the truck. I'm going to buy the truck, and then they're going to drive it for me. And at the end of a few months, I'm going to allow them the option to either buy it out from underneath me or lease it from me. And then you're kind of like leasing and then renting to somebody. Man, I don't know if that'll work too well. No offense, but it just sounds like a shisty scam type business adventure. It sounds too fishy, man. I would buy the truck, and then if you want to lease it to somebody, do that. But don't lease it and then rent to somebody. And like I said, you're already, yeah, that's too much liability. I don't get into stuff like that. Sounds like this guy went through a guy who goes through another guy, and that's just too much. That's like saying you're working for a guy that's leased to another company that's leased to a bigger company. There's too many levels to that. You just want to not down as many levels and just be straight, 1 to 3 people removed is as far as you want to be. Jeremy, I did send appeal, just waiting for them to reply back. Yeah, that can be a timely process, especially in these times right now. Hopefully they get back to you. As far as I understand, I mean, that shouldn't be, you should be able to do that, especially because you didn't mess up. You weren't running under this authority, right? You just applied for the authority and then you're getting insurance. Or I guess don't tell me that. Don't tell me that because liability might come into factor there. But yeah, so good for you. If they accept it, that'll be great. They should accept it if they're under the impression that you weren't running without insurance. Tommy Tech, how much would you recommend spending on first truck? Well, it's difficult because it depends on, how much money you have and how much you're comfortable with. I try to spend no more than 50,000 on a first truck. My truck, I spent $40,000 on it, and my payment was $1,200 a month, and it was around a 3.5 year finance. That was how much I spent on my first truck. And then my second truck, I kind of went crazy and bought a $65,000 truck. And then my next truck was all the way down to a $30,000 truck because I got a good deal. And then I bought two trucks for $40,000, and then I bought another one for $35,000, and then another one for $30,000. So it just depends. And I'm about ready to maybe buy one for about $50,000. So yeah, because you're look at my how to finance your first semi truck. Check out my video on the YouTube channel, on my YouTube channel, Make Money Trucking. I mean, you know where you're at, I'm assuming. And I go over a lot there. Good credit, you're going to put less money down, so you're going to be able to purchase a higher price truck. But then you still need money set aside for emergency expenses. So if you got $50,000 total, or let me say, if you got $20,000 set aside and you can put $10,000 down and get a $50,000 truck, that's good. Because then you'll still have $20,000. So you'll have $30,000 to spend total. You put $20,000 in the bank, take your 10, put it down on your $50,000 truck, or a $40,000 truck. That's good. That's a good place to be. Because then the truck the truck is worth more than what you owe on it. You got some equity in it, and then you got $20,000 in the bank. Mohammed, is there enough loads out there for 26-foot box truck, or should I go straight into 18-wheeler? Do you have a CDL? Do you have experience? If you have a CDL and you have experience, yeah, I would go into getting an 18-wheeler semi truck. But if you don't have experience, I don't know. I mean, it depends on if you're able to make money with a 26-foot box truck. I know there's supply and distribution companies out there that are willing to do that type of they have that kind of work, but I don't know if it pays that well. But it's a lot less headache. You don't have a class 8 truck you're trying to drive and the DOT numbers and all that stuff. So I guess that's too open-ended. If you already have experience, I would go into semi truck. Jeremy Jones, I called the FMCSA that told since it had been a year, I don't have to pay to reactivate. Well, that's good. Yeah, sometimes I'll work with you. We all like to complain. I mean, sometimes it's not as bad as we make it out to be, but that's good. You don't have to pay to reactivate it. I think once you reactivate it the first time, I don't know how that works. I have a DOT authority too. I just don't use it currently. It's still active. I guess it's not really deactivated till I deactivate it. But yeah, so once you get it activated, I think it'll be good. Rhett, thoughts on hotshot trucking? Hotshot trucking, there was a huge craze on YouTube for it. For whatever reason, I don't know why. But in certain circumstances, it's good. But a lot of the flatbed guys, a lot of the semi flatbeds are taking their loads because they can take 2 or 3 of their loads at once. So they're losing a lot of work on that front because you're trying to use a pickup truck to do semi truck loads that might be light enough to handle to do it with a pickup truck. It's kind of like yeah. I know a couple people tried it, didn't work out very well for them. I think the guys that are doing it on YouTube are making so much money off making enough money off YouTube to justify still doing it. But if they're just doing it and not making any money off YouTube, I don't think they'd still be doing it. I think their YouTube earnings are helping them keep it going. I follow a guy on Instagram, and he seems like he's doing okay, but I don't know if he's really on top. He might be really on top of like the load boards, or he might have like direct contracts or good relationships with the shippers and suppliers. But a lot of guys they get into it and they don't make it because a lot of loads are either too big for their pickups, or like I said, semis are saying, "Oh, I'll take that. Oh, here's a hot shot load here. Here's a hot load showed here, and here's a hot lot showed here. Hot shot load here. I'll take all 3. Have a nice day. See you later." And then the hot shot guy is like, he took all my loads. And then the shipper's like, "Sorry, we don't care who takes it. We just need someone to take it." So that's my thought on hot shot. I feel like it was a huge trend the last couple of years, and I think it's kind of slowing down, if not dying a little bit. Yeah, because I saw these YouTubers and I was like, holy crap, this guy's talking about how he made $4,000 a week doing hot shot, and then he gets like 100,000 views, and I was like, well, 1 week out of 2 months you made 4,000, because I guarantee you're not sustainably doing that every single week, unless you've got some crazy contract, and that's probably not gonna last very long. Cobe 13. Thanks for answering, man. I appreciate it. No problem, man. Happy to help. Just being honest with you on that situation. Appreciate it. My goal is to try to help everybody out. Give a little bit of knowledge to new guys out there that are getting started out. The real Bonetonian. That's a funny name. 6291. Thought on heavy haul Pete or Freightliner? Freightliner. I'm just not a fan of Peterbilt's. You're paying for the name. I made a lot of my money with Freightliners, and I've driven mostly Kenworths, and I've driven every truck out there, especially heavy haul applications, and I don't know. I would go with Freightliner for sure. But don't be going snagging up those heavy haul Freightliners that I'm looking at, though. Just kidding. Yeah, I would go with the Freightliner for sure. Never really been into Peterbilt's. Rhett, you said you have owned a few trucks already. What is the average cost you probably spend on the high end per year for maintenance, preventive maintenance, and of course, breakdowns? Rhett, I have a video on my channel right now that is the cost to own a semi truck. And this is one of the best examples. Not the best, it's about average. I'd say 1 out of 10, it's about a 7 out of 10 as being the best cost effectiveness of a semi I've had. I've got a video on my channel about that. Go check that out. I go over some numbers and detail of some things that I've experienced, and I would say roughly, anywhere from 10 to $20,000 is what you're going to spend a year. And it can be more than that. I mean, it could be up to 30,000 for a major repair for that year. Like, say, if you have a motor you need to rebuild, or a transmission, or just some, a lot of things start going wrong. But I'd say around $10,000 to $20,000 a year on a cost-effective truck. Now, if you go buy some million-mile truck that's a Peterbilt, and they say the motor's been rebuilt, but that's not the case, they're lying to you, then you'll probably spend like 40 grand. You should probably have to rebuild the motor, and the rest of the truck is worn out, so you'll spend another 5, 10, 15 grand chasing suspension, driveline problems, rear ends, brakes, the whole thing. Eddie, hello, Eddie. How are you? Okay, I will. Thanks. Yeah, you bet, man. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I broke it down, and that's actually been pretty average for most of my trucks. I haven't really had any major issues. I know none of us have a crystal ball, but what's your thoughts of the country locking down with COVID-19 again? Whew. Man, I don't want, any trouble with my channel, so I'm not going to go too deep into that. But depending on how things go in the next couple months, I'm talking about towards the first of the year, I think that may not be as big of a problem anymore, because certain people will claim to have solved the problem and taken care of the situation underneath their control, or they think it's their control. And I think that give it a couple months, I think we're going to be asking ourselves, what situation? I don't remember any type of virus. But that's just my opinion. It could go the opposite way too. They could get a lot stricter, but I think that once certain people get their way on a certain issues, I think a lot of people will calm down on it. And also, supposedly a vaccine's coming too. So I think that once that comes, things will get a lot better. But I don't want to get too into that on this channel. I want to stay away from it. But it is a real world thing we're dealing with. And as far as in the real world, where trucks are needed to haul freight and trucks need to roll and keep rolling, things go on as usual, as normal. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. If you own a bar, you might have to worry. But if you're a truck driver, supply still needs to get sent. Ever thought about doing hotshot trucking? No, I have not, because I don't want to be over the road. How you doing, Courtney? I know who you are. Been going back and forth a lot of comments. So welcome to the live chat for one, and for two, no, I don't want to do hotshot trucking, because if I did do that, I'd have to be over the road. And if I was over the road, I'd rather have a truck to sleep in rather than the back of a pickup truck. And everybody I know that's ever tried hotshot trucking, it basically goes well for them, and then it doesn't go very well for them because it's so inconsistent, and the semi trucks are stealing their loads anyways. And it's very rare they get small enough loads that pay enough that it benefits for a pickup truck to take it versus semi truck. All right, Tommy Tech, what mileage range are you looking to stay under when buying a truck, or other key factors you look at when looking to buy? I try to stay under 500,000 miles, and I basically try to get the best deal I possibly can within the specifications that I'm looking for. So if I'm looking for a heavy spec truck, I'm basically looking for the lowest mileage and the right setup the right sleeper, the right weight, the right, gear ratios, the right transmission, the right torque rating. So I match up all the specifications that I need, and then I just try to find the cheapest truck with the lowest amount of miles, given that it's not really rusty and that it doesn't look too sketchy and that it doesn't look like a truck that they sold at auction because it was torn to crap. That's what I look for. Definitely like to standard 500,000 miles, because at least I feel trucks should go to about 1 million. So I feel like basically you're getting a half used truck. You got half the life still in it and you paid a quarter of the price for it. So if you can buy a 400,000 mile truck for $40,000, that's great, because you just paid, 150. The truck was probably close to $140,000 brand new. So you just literally paid, less than a third of the price, and the truck still has a third, 2/3 of its life left, potentially, if it's taken care of really well, or a little bit over half its life. So I guess that's kind of a scenario I look at. But yeah, people are crazy out there. Some people are selling 700,000 mile trucks for $55,000-$60,000. So I'm like, why? I can get a 400,000 mile truck for the same price, if not $10,000-$15,000 less. So that's what I look at. Don't want to give too many secrets away, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm happy to share the tips and tricks that I use. I'm gonna have a video on things I look for when I'm buying a truck and how I can decipher, if it's a good truck to buy and if it's a piece of crap, or if it's a turd on wheels that someone's just trying to unload on somebody. Jeremy Jones, which is better, flatbed or step deck? Step deck is better because you can haul taller loads. Have a good buddy of mine, personal experience. He had a flatbed, or he hauled for a company driver. He was a company driver. He was driving a flatbed for a company, and he could not take a lot of loads because they were too tall. As far as a lot of military equipment, a lot of tractors, a lot of construction equipment that's not too awfully heavy, it tends to be tall. So you want to have a step deck for sure. But there's a trade-off. The step decks have really smaller tires, so the tires wear out. So your tire budget's going to go up. But then your loads are going to pay more, and you're going to be able to get more of them because you're going to have a more open availability of what you can haul. Courtney, finally caught a live stream. Yep, I noticed that. Happy to see you in here. And wow, about the fifth one, you finally caught one, but that's okay because I didn't give any notice of this one or last week, so that's all good. Eddie, do you book your own loads or work with a company? I lease on to a trucking company that is already existent, so I don't book my own loads. Well, I guess if you want to say it that way, I'm not on load boards. I haul hazmat, so hazmat authorities are way too expensive to get on your own. So I basically lease on to a company that hauls hazmat, and then they dispatch me my loads. I kind of do choose my loads if I find myself in the right favorites category, or if they like me enough, they'll let me kind of choose my loads where I want to go. But for the most part, you kind of just get dispatched where you get dispatched, and you just have to deal with it. Rhett, what city do you reside in? I'm just north of Denver. Actually, I'm north of Denver, but south of Cheyenne, Wyoming. So I'm in between those two areas, and out east, kind of towards Nebraska. So that's kind of where I reside in, is that big circle. From Nebraska into Wyoming and down to Denver. Rhett, right on. I used to live in Denver 5 years and Fort Collins for 2 years. Okay. That's awesome. Yeah, so you know my area. You know my backyard pretty well then. That's all I'll say about it. It's expensive here, but there seems to be a lot of work here. How do you go about finding a company to lease under? Thanks for answering my previous questions. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. You're welcome. Let's see. Tommy, just like I told Rhett, I have a video on my YouTube channel about how to find companies to lease onto. And I'd like you to go watch that video on my channel. It's how to find companies to lease onto as an owner operator. But I'll give you a short, very brief, simple scenario. Once you find an industry that you want to be in underneath the trucking sector, like say you like flatbed or you like hauling tanker or reefer or whatever, then I would find companies that hire owner operators to do that specific job or construction. And if you can, talk to actual owner operators that are leased onto them. Owner operators, we're just like employees for trucking companies. So most of the time we're going to be pretty honest, or we're going to run away from you because we don't want anybody to find out about the good contract that we have and I want to keep it a secret. So try to talk to guys that are currently leased on to somebody, ask them how they like it. Some guys are going to tell you it's pretty good, I enjoy it. Some guys are going to be pissed off that day and say, I hate it, everything sucks, life sucks, I want to burn my truck down. And some guys are going to run away because they're going to be scared that you're going to come in and steal the work. But usually you find the first type of person that's going to tell you, it sucks, or it's all right, or it's pretty good. That's the best thing I've done. That's how I found out. Being in the industry that I'm in, I talk to people. I would run to these guys at the truck stops, at offload or loading locations, and I'd say, hey, how you doing? How's it going? How do you like this company you work for? And some guys pretty much say piss off, and some guys start talking to you and they're honest and fantastic. That's how I found a lot of the companies I found to lease onto. And then once I've been in the industry long enough, I kind of just know guys who know other guys that have been pretty much all around the same industry. It's a small world once you get into it. So basically, that's how you find out. Sorry, that's long-winded. My video on YouTube might even be shorter than that. But long story short, ask around, call companies, find out if they're hiring owner operators, ask them why they're hiring. Hopefully it's because they got a lot of work and not because they just turn and burn people. Rhett, I'm in Nebraska now. Awesome. So you're not far away either. So you're on the same side of the country I am. Courtney, when does the current job wrap up? Done. I got out of there. I got out of there and came back home. And I actually got another contract starting up probably the next week or so. Well, I've already got the contract set up to go lease onto another company. Been in conversation with them for about a week or so. Kind of been dragging my feet, and I'm going to start with them probably in the next week or so. Hopefully. They got to just work out some paperwork and all that good stuff. But I'm done. No longer a dingy hotel. I'm back at home in my office, or my YouTube studio, if you want to call it. And happy to be home. What is good price for a used step deck? Dang. I'd say 20 to 30 grand. I would text my buddy, but he's sleeping right now. I'll ask him. Let's see here. He might have one for sale that he's actually looking. He was looking to upgrade, but I think he sold a normal flatbed. He might have just sold his flatbed. So forget I said that. But if you want to reach out to me on my Instagram and just say, Instagram at Make Money Trucking, send me a DM. I'll have to approve it and whatnot, which is fine. And just say, looking for a used step deck, what's a good price? and I'll try my best to get back to you within a couple days on some good prices to look for those. But I think around 20 to 30 grand is a pretty good price for one that's under 10 years old. And I think he might be looking to get rid of his if he hasn't already. AKA Butterball Turkey. Leasing or own authority? Start out, it doesn't hurt to lease. Lease on until you get used to what you're doing, get some experience under your belt, and then if you want to deal with having your own authority, I would say then go take on the challenge of getting your own authority after you do that. But I would lease on, and like me, I mean, I'm in such a specialized field that leasing on is really the only way, because I don't have a $10 million insurance policy to cover the hazmat. What happened to the last job? Wasn't it supposed to last a bit longer? It was, but let's just say we had some complications. We didn't see exactly eye to eye on some of the things, and yeah, I mean, the work is going to stay out there. The work's not going anywhere. I left. I was like, I was living in a hotel, got sick of it, and the company that shall be not named is going to get blasted in the next couple weeks. As soon as I get all my pay from them, I might have to put them on blast, but I'm not that type of guy. But they were a joke. Essentially, I followed work out there, got promised a bunch of stuff. I got paid, which is good, but then there was just a bunch of micromanaging. It's just the current problem with trucking is that, and the work was crappy. The work itself wasn't bad, but the roads are bad. And then coming into winter, I don't know if I really want to deal with those roads and then that pay and being away from the house and just living out of a hotel. Yeah, wasn't really what I wanted to deal with. I hear you. That's one of the disadvantages of being leased on. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I didn't have to go out there. I wasn't hurting. I didn't have to go out there to make money. I did it because I was bored and I'm kind of waiting for all the current situations to work themselves out in our current country right now. Basically, so I went out there. I didn't have high expectations. So when it didn't work out, I really wasn't upset about it. I was like, I gave it a couple more weeks and then things got kind of rocky. And I'm like, I'm out, I don't need to be here. I've got a lot of experience. I can pretty much go wherever I want. So I can go back home for now. The real Bontonian 6291. That's a funny name. And it got me again. If I think I know what you're saying there. What you hauling right now? I'm gonna be hauling hazmat tanker stuff. Kyran Joy. Hey, as an owner operator, how much can we make after all our expenses average? Thanks. It depends on what you're going into. And if you have your own authority or you're leasing on somebody, or if you're in specialized industry or not specialized, I would say ideally you should be able to make at least $3,000 take home a week after your expenses. That might be geared more towards specialized industries. But ideally, the low end's probably about 2,500. The high end's 5,000 or more. Courtney, what do you want to do now? Ideally, same thing I was doing, and I'm going to be doing the same thing I was doing out there, hauling hazmat tanker. Here, that's what I want to do. We'll see how long it lasts. Out here on this side of the country, they like pipelines a lot, so that's kind of killing us right now. But and other companies that are stealing our work for basically pennies on the dollar, and then hiring company drivers to do it that don't have any experience. But that's neither here nor there. That's just another day in the life of being a trucking business. There's always someone stealing your work for cheaper. So I'm gonna be doing the same thing I was doing out there and prior, and I'm happy with that because I'd rather be home. Jimmy and the boys, have you ever ran over a rat? I don't know what that means, but I'm not too sure. Don't know if I'm getting myself into a trick question on that one. I guess I would ask that question because I'm not understanding what you mean by that. Eddie, since you do hazmat, do you have to go up the pass on ice on the 70 Loveland Pass? I think no. Luckily for me, I stay on the east side, so I stay out in the plains. We don't do too much stuff going over the mountains. Luckily, if I was in Utah, I'd be doing a lot of that stuff. But as far as right now, I don't. There are some contracts that come up a lot that have you going up through Wyoming, over ice, over the Rockies, back down in, but very rarely would we go over I-70 because we would stay north of I-70 and just go I-80 and hit that over the mountains and back in. Not right now. I haven't had to do that. Hopefully I don't have to. Daryl Bond 6291, average tanker or hazmat take home, and what are some good companies where you are? I'm assuming you mean take home for owner operators, and I'll answer that for that. $3,000 a week take home is pretty good. That should be pretty average, and I'm averaging that out. So some weeks you might do 4 or 5. Some weeks you may only do about 22,000 to 2,500. But that being said, if you're doing $2,000, you're probably working 2 or 3 days a week. So whereas a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, well, company drivers make $2,000 a week." Yeah, well, they're working 6 days a week to do it, or 5 to 6 days a week to do it. So if you're making $2,000 a week as an owner operator, you only work 2 or 3 days that week. Let's see here. And then good companies where I am. That's too hard to tell you because everything's up in the air right now. No one's hiring right now. And it depends on what kind of hazmat tanker you want to do. Like if you want to get into fuel, there's a lot of different tanker and hazmat stuff around me. There's chemicals, there's fuel, there's oil, there's fertilizer. And I don't know a whole lot of I don't know all the companies out there, so I can't give you a good enough answer on that. Because honestly, it's so slim pickings. Like, I'm going to be taking a contract leasing on with a company, but they don't know if it's going to be long term. I don't know if it's going to be long term. They have work right now, so they're just going to kind of see how it goes. But months prior to this, they were dead in the water, and they had to let go like a few different owner operators. Rhett, have you ever heard any good things about owner operators for GP Transco? I'm not sure I'm familiar. What do they haul? Maybe I'm just not familiar with the name, but what do they haul? Transco sounds familiar. Transco, is that a subsidiary of McLean? Rhett? Thank you for the thumbs up, guys. I appreciate it. I know it's a little late. Thanks for joining me on this live stream. Just thought I'd jump on here real fast. Hope you guys like the new decor. Trying to make this studio / office for YouTube look more like a trucking channel. So you know where you're at when you're tuning in, or at least I would hope you know where you're at, seeing a truck and seeing the motor license plates. I still got some more to get. Want to make it more filled out, but I think this is good for right now. And I might get rid of the whiteboard altogether. I'm not sure yet. I sometimes use it, sometimes don't. Gotten missed comments on it, but I'm pretty happy with the new setup. This setup's awesome. This sign up here is great. It's fantastic. I actually got that off Instagram. So any of you owner operators out there, Zanvos, getting a free shout out. Zanvos did that for me. That company off Instagram, Zanvos. So it sounds exactly like it's spelled off Instagram. They make these metal signs for whatever industry you're in as far as owner operators go. All right, see if I have any more questions here. I'll answer a few more questions, or feel free to, make any statements or shout anything out. And I'll give probably 5 or 10 more minutes. And I've actually got to do some computer training classes. Or I guess some safety training classes. Because in my industry, you have to do these safety classes every couple months. But yeah, Rhett, GP Transco, what do they haul? And is that a subsidiary of McLean? I think Transco is a subsidiary of McLean. Rhett, going to drive any of those exotic cars anytime, sometime soon? I might be. Let me think. It's getting into wintertime, so now that I'm back in town, I was out like West Virginia, Ohio area for the last couple months. I'm back in, my hometown. Back home, I should say. Not my hometown. I'd maybe the next couple months. Those videos, I thought those were gonna be a lot more popular than they were, because I'm wanting to transfer over to the doing more car stuff and car builds, because trucking is what I got into to make a great living, and but my true passion is cars, and I still think it's relevant. I don't know if it would be a very warm welcome to start doing some car builds or doing some fun stuff with cars on the channel. Because I am categorized as an automotive YouTube channel, but that's just because trucking was the closest to that. So anyways, yeah, I know those guys pretty well down there. I would consider them somewhat buddies of mine. I don't go and hang out with them a lot, but they're really good guys, and I spend a lot of time, BSing with them. And I think that, let's see here, probably the next, I might do some more. They got an R8 I want to drive. I'm not going to say it's a future purchase of mine, but we'll just leave it at that. I don't know if I'd want to endeavor into the operating costs and cost of owning an exotic car. That's kind of why I don't want to go drive and get out of my system. I'd rather have like a high-end sports car. Yeah. Do some cars and craft beer videos. Yeah, that would be a good idea. I don't know if the craft beer stuff that get demonetized or not. Crap, I just said it. I don't like saying that, but I wonder if I do some craft beer videos, if that would actually be a good way to have a sustainable YouTube channel. But I do have an app that's coming out soon. We're just waiting for this whole global situation to calm down, because a lot of people aren't going to breweries right now, or at least not as many as should be, and it's revolved around that. So I'm gonna be. I already have that. It's already ready to go. It's already developed. We're just waiting to release it and get breweries signed up for it. So yeah, I might make some of those in the future. Yeah, I don't have as many of you guys in here, but I kind of want to know if transitioning into doing more car and automotive stuff is of any interest to you guys out there, because it's make money trucking. So therefore trucking, a lot of guys that are in trucking are also into automotive stuff. So I think it would go together well. Or should I make a different channel for that stuff and keep this just trucking, or maybe do a little bit of both? But yeah, coming up, I have a Detroit 60 that I'm going to potentially be rebuilding. We're going to be throwing a big turbo on a 60 series, and aftermarket exhaust manifold, and maybe going out there and trolling some Kenworths and Peterbilts, some Cats and Cummins with it. That'll be fun. So that's coming up soon. I just got to get things lined out. We're doing some new work right now. So once that kind of calms down, and if that ever slows down, we're looking to do a build series on my 2008 Freightliner. Let me know if you guys are interested in seeing that. Before we had like a 650 to 700 horsepower tune. Sorry, excuse me, guys. We had a 650 to 700 horsepower tune on it, and it was a beast. But the turbo could not, the variable valve turbo could not handle that amount of boost and fuel being thrown at it. So we're gonna have to get just a stock style turbo with no variable vane in it and see how that goes. Rhett, have a good night. Don't worry, man. We're all rookies at once upon a time. And I'll catch you on the next one, man. All right. So does anybody have any more questions for me? Thank you all for coming out and joining me on this live stream and asking whatever questions. I see some repeated people in here. Thank you for joining me back, or coming back if you were here before. I see some familiar names in here that were on here previously. So I really appreciate that. And as always, check out the YouTube channel. There might be some videos on there for you, or wherever you're at, or whatever you might be curious about as far as, trucking, the trucking industry, or becoming an owner operator. But as long as you guys don't have any other questions, give it probably another few seconds here to see if you guys got any more questions. And if not, I'm going to get off here pretty soon. Edmund, I was just talking about people who, I guess you'd say, repeat people back in the chat. It's nice to see you here, and everybody else that came back. Yeah, man, I'm actually about to get off here. Unless you want to throw me some questions real fast, I'll answer them. But yeah, go ahead and watch the replay. That should be up. The replays are tricky because sometimes they take a while to, like YouTube has to upload them and process them, and for some reason they take a while to get processed and upload. Courtney, how many more years do you think you will continue to be a truck driver? Is there any other businesses you would rather be in? Yeah, probably 2 or 3 more years. That's my goal. I'd like to do a lot more stuff with automotive stuff, as far as I'd like to build the YouTube channel. I'd be happy with doing YouTube content revolved around trucking. So I'll probably do that for a long time, probably for the next 5 years at least. After that, I would like to. I've got some other businesses. Um, I have an app that I'm developing. So, well, it's already developed. We're just waiting to release it because of the whole situation that happened that we all know about that stopped people from going to breweries. So that's an app that I was getting ready to release, and just got to wait for the right timing on that. Hopefully that takes off. Invest a lot of money in that. So hopefully it works out. If not, oh well, it's a write-off. And yeah, so that's the other business I'd rather get into. Um, I don't mind doing trucking as a part-time thing if that ever becomes an opportunity that I can. You know, a lot of people that want you to be an owner operator, they want you to be full-time. So if I could, have other businesses and just be an owner operator 2, 3, 4 days a week, that'd be fantastic. Like do like a Monday through Thursday type gig, and then have my other businesses to handle the other 3 days. That'd be great. Also, real estate is going to be something I'm going to be diving pretty deep into over the next few years. So hopefully, um, right now I do majority of trucking, and I do a little bit of YouTube and a little bit of other stuff. I'd like the trucking to shrink down a little bit, do a lot more YouTube, pretty much half and half YouTube, half trucking, and then have my other businesses be a lot bigger part. And then eventually the trucking will get smaller. The YouTube will stay pretty much the same, if not more or less, and then getting more involved with real estate. Because that's what I tell guys. A lot of guys I know, they're owner operators. We get in this industry to make money and to do well. We get into becoming an owner operator to make good money, to venture into something else that we want to do. It's kind of a stair step. A lot of guys are truckers for the rest of their life. A lot of us just do it to make money because it's not a bad way to make a living, to further invest in other things. I have a lot of friends of mine that they were truck drivers and they're owner operators. Now they own a lot of real estate. And I have guys that were owner operators and then they open up diesel repair shops, and I do that. So yeah, a lot of it's just a stepping stone. Edmund, I don't have anything at the moment. I'll watch a replay and learn something new. Awesome, man. Hopefully you learned something new. But will anything you would like to do realistically replace your current truck income? Yeah. YouTube can be pretty sustainable. I'm so small on YouTube. I mean, it's not enough to replace my income as having a trucking business, but having an app company, and if that takes off like we think, we have some projections on what that's supposed to do, and if that goes the way we at least does half of what I'm hoping for it to do, that should take over my income driving a truck. And then real estate, obviously, it depends. Real estate's all dependent, but real estate, can easily make up half of what I do with trucking. So yeah, this stuff can pretty much take over what I'm doing in trucking. But for what we do, it's such an easy job for how much we make that I think I'll always be somewhat of a part-time driver. Eddie, how long have you been in trucking in total? 9 years, 10 years, actually. Been 10 years total in the trucking industry. I think as it applies to trucking, it's best to have a entry plan and an exit plan. How people manage their money is crucial to successfully exiting. Yeah, that's true. And honestly, what set me back is I had to learn a couple hard lessons with a secondary trucking business I had. I had a second. I'm gonna make videos on this, but I don't want to be that guy that has a sob story and, oh, look at me, I lost all this money, and I lost pity. I don't want to do that, because I like to be optimistic and be a lot more half glass half full, not half empty. But basically, I ran over. I kind of had a bump in the. I had a speed bump a few years ago, and that set me. I had to do a little bit of a detour and kind of rebuild myself back up. So I've been doing that for the last 2 years, and now I'm sitting pretty good. I can't complain. But if I had not done that, I would have probably had an exit strategy a year, 2 years ago. But it led to me doing YouTube, because with that failure of what I went through, that encouraged me to start the channel to help other people. Because along my journey, I had a lot of guys and gals that were curious on how I did it and how they can do it. So that inspired me to start the channel. So I guess without that hiccup in the road, I would never start the YouTube channel, and I enjoy it. I really like doing the YouTube. I don't always have the amount of time I want to devote to it, but eventually I hope I can get there. So I hope that answers your question. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's all about planning, and it's all about financially saving your money, and not going in too hard too fast, and not going in too heavy too fast. Into You gotta have eggs in multiple baskets. I went a little heavy-handedly into my. I had a side truck. I call it a side trucking business, but I went a little heavy-handed investing in that, and it didn't end up quite how I was hoping for. We had some contracts that just didn't work out, so that kind of bit me in the butt. But some of the most successful people out there, they have told me, and I have watched their videos, and they had to have a couple good failures to teach them how to be more successful. So that's just part of the game. A little long-winded, but it's Thursday night. I don't have much else to do. Got to look into some safety videos, and that's about it. Eddie, do you know any owner-operators in California, and if so, are they successful? I know truck drivers are from California, and they pretty much have the same story I have. Is, well, it's really expensive to live there. They make a lot better money, but it's really expensive. And a lot of them, with the regulations and all the rules and laws, I think they try to get out of it. I think they are successful, but comes with the cost of living is very high there. I know that a lot of loads pay really good to go there because nobody wants to go there, especially if you have an older truck, because they're pretty strict on that. They don't want any older emissions trucks on their highways or non-emission trucks on their highways. They want everything to be emissions compliant up to the current standards, which is kind of crazy because every few years standards can change. I mean, we had the DPF and then we had DEF. So how long until we have another standard that changes and everybody has to change their fleets over that? So I think it's definitely harder for them to succeed, but I think they are successful if they're smart enough with their business and their money. But I do know a lot of guys are taking advantage of going into California to get loads, especially flatbed loads, because they can't get you kind of X'd out half of the trucking industry as far as owner operators with all the regulations. And drivers don't want to deal with it, all the rules and stuff. The right-hand lane stuff. Yeah. It's like they don't want you there, which is, not going to get into it on this channel, but, they need trucks, but then they hate trucks. So, yeah, I don't like getting stuck behind a semi-truck just like anybody else doesn't. But at the same time, you need them to deliver your product. So truckers are, truly the backbone of the country. And it's like, how do you expect your stuff to get there? I don't think they're hoping for a teleportation device to send all their supplies to California. I'm just looking over the comments here. Make sure I didn't forget nothing. Happy to see all you guys in here. Thanks for the thumbs up. I saw some of the sticker emojis. Let's see. I think I got another comment. Okay, Courtney. Planning and making good use of your money equals making good use of our time. Yeah, that's true. I hope I understand what you mean by that. But yeah, trying to. The thing, you know, a lot of people in the trucking industry, we didn't come from trucking backgrounds. I didn't. I was an engineer going to school for mechanical engineering. I had no ambition to become a truck driver. No one in my immediate family was truck drivers, and just me and my brother-in-law happened to become drivers at the same time. And we've kept with it, and some close family friends. So, but basically, my point is that a lot of us got into trucking because of the opportunity, and we knew somebody that was doing it and making a decent living. And a CDL is just as good as a degree if you've got a good driving record, because you can find a job anywhere, pretty much driving a truck. May not be the best money, but you'll always have a job wherever you go, unless you're picky like me and don't want to just do any job out there. But yeah, so a lot of us got into it for that. And some people stay and some people just use it as another stepping stone to success. And that's kind of my goal and my plan. But yeah, hopefully in the near future, you guys can see where I take this. I'm not looking to build a huge trucking empire. Been there, done that. Don't want that headache. But I think that I can take the little money that I have made and invest it into something else outside of the trucking industry. But I'll still always be a part of it because it's led me to where I am today. So I definitely am appreciative of it. Because if nobody like me can have the success that I have had, anybody can. Because I am not the smartest guy by any means. I was at the right place, right time, and I tried to take it to my advantage as much as I could. Corner Sanders meant your. Oh yeah, okay, I got you. No, I did not finish my degree. I went back. So I was actually a welder in the oil and gas industry, and I went back to school to get my engineering degree. And during the time that I was doing that, I remember seeing guys driving trucks out in the field and thought, well, that would be an easy job. I remember talking to them. They said they made like $15 an hour, and I was making $8 an hour going to school. And I already had the experience in the oil and gas field as a welder. So I saw all the trucks out there. So then I ended up getting a job at a beverage distribution company, and I was a helper, a college kid going to working at a beer company. What could be better, right? I wasn't really big into that anyways, but I thought it'd be a good thing. Started doing that. After I did that for a few months, they got me my CDL. And then upon getting my CDL, I said, hey, I remember all those trucks out there in the oil and gas field. Maybe I can go out there and get one of those jobs. I don't have to, hump beer around all day, 165-pound kegs. That was tiring. And eventually I found a job. My first job was $80,000 a year, and I was local. I was still in my own backyard, and I went home every night. And I was like, holy crap. So I really started reevaluating my education at that point. Second year, it just went up and up and up. And the next thing I know, I'm making six figures as a driver, And then along came me learning about becoming an owner operator and having the engineering mindset. I also had an entrepreneur mindset. So I was like, well, I could kind of join those two and be smart with my money. And I have a mechanical background. So like as far as being a mechanic and all that stuff. So it was a best, like the best of all these worlds kind of came together right at the right time. And I became a driver. Then I became an owner operator. I already knew how to work on stuff, turn wrenches, fix stuff. So it just made perfect. And then I thought to myself, 3 years into it, 4 years into it, I have my own business. I'm making, probably 2 times the amount, double the money that I'd be making starting out as an engineer. A CDL is better than most degrees. Yeah, most of them. I mean, you're right. But see, my thing was I was 2 years into it. I had another 2 or 3 years. I'm not the smartest guy, and I'm not the most motivated to do book work, but I like solving problems. So I would have 2 years of making $8 an hour, working all these jobs, couldn't hold down a job because everybody lies to you. You get a job when you're in college, you say, hey, I can only work these hours. Is that all right? They say, okay, they hire you. Next thing you know, they're asking you to work a really late shift and you're telling them, no, I can't. And then next thing you know, they're like getting mad at you or they're letting you go or you're having to quit. And then, so did that for 2 years. And then I get into driving in the oil field and I'm making 80 grand a year. And then I said, okay. And my plan was to save money and go back and get my degree. But by the time I was out there making 6 figures in the matter of 2 years, and it was pretty sustainable, everything's changed nowadays. So it's a whole nother world nowadays of what it was during the boom. I basically said, I'm kind of good where I'm at, And then a lot of engineers in the downturns, they were getting laid off. And I know a lot of engineers, or I've met a lot of engineers and talked to them, and I found out that to kind of replicate what I'm doing, if they ever get to that caliber, they have had to be doing their practice for at least 5 years to get up to the income level that a higher end owner operator is making. So I'm pretty happy with that. I was pretty far ahead. Yeah, I tell a lot of guys that a lot of people become truck drivers after they've gotten a 4-year degree that they can't use. That's probably, I'd say it's 70% of people that I run into, even owner operators. In mine, he was an accountant. He's got a degree and he became an owner operator. This guy was crazy because he only had 6 months. He jumped in becoming an owner operator after only driving 5 or 6 months. I mean, he went in feet first. He landed, he sank or swim. Luckily, he ended up swimming. He didn't sink. And he did pretty good for a few years. I don't know if he's still doing it. Yeah, so a lot of guys coming into the trucking industry are college graduates with degrees that they can't use. Because at the end of the day, I think college degrees are kind of, people with college degrees are going to start getting paid less and less because there are more and more people out there with them. There's a lot of people with CDLs, but there's a lot more of a shortage of truck drivers than there are for certain people with certain degrees. All right, guys. Well, and gals, it was fun talking on this live stream. I'm going to get off here. Hopefully you can check out my channel. I'm sure you already know of my channel if you're here, but we'll try to meet again next week around same time frame, Thursday, I would say. Maybe a little bit earlier this time. It's a little bit late. So have a good one, and I will see you guys on the next one.